my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then welcome to my channel, and in today's video we are going to be talking about why you should be reading the Summer Hikaru Died by Mokumokuren. I have now read volumes 1 through 4 of this series, which is all that is currently out in the US at the time of filming this. I will have the content warnings linked down below in the description along with links to some resources, and yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about this. Summer Hikaru Died follows two boys, Yoshiki and Hikaru. They lived together in a small village, they did everything together, they were best friends, until one day something happens to Hikaru. And this changes him forever when all Yoshiki really wants to do is stay by his side. Was a series that I didn't know a ton about going into it. I knew that it was supposed to be good, I knew it was confirmed for an anime adaptation that I was most likely going to watch one day, and then I later found out the genres, and that's basically it. But then I was looking for a summer series to read, and I specifically woke up in the mood for Summertime Rendering, which yeah, already watched that one, and I guess I could technically read it, but instead I decided to put that energy into the first volume of this series, and I have no regrets about that, thankfully. And this series really does have a good summer horror atmosphere. It's one of my favorite things about this series, and that's mostly thanks to the setting. It's a small village, and it's constantly hot, and there's always some sort of like frog, cicada, or just something making noise. And I think it just gave me a really nice blend of creepy horror with also slice of life, and just gave me exactly what I wanted. And as for our characters, specifically Yoshiki, he's fine, I like him, and I do really sympathize with him for reasons that I'll mention a little bit later. But he's also a character that I think is becoming more and more interesting with every volume, and there are interesting and complex questions that the series raises that we get through his character. As for Hikaru, this one's a little bit harder just due to the nature of this story. He's certainly full of personality, he's also very creepy and scary, but he's also really complex and interesting as well, and again, more so with every volume it seems like. Now as for the original Hikaru, I would like to see more of him, honestly. Like, I do think that we have enough, but I do think that seeing more of him would establish a relationship and just a dynamic between him and Yoshiki a little bit more. And I do just kind of selfishly want that, even though it would probably make this series even more emotionally painful than it already is. But I also do want this series to be as emotionally painful as possible for me, so bad. And there are some other characters in this series as well, including one that has been pretty fun who comes in a little bit later. I also do really like what we've seen from Asako so far. Moving on to the relationships, again, this is where it starts to get emotionally painful, because the series does have LGBTQ+ themes, and it really leaves you thinking about what could have been. Like, a lot. And early on, that is what mostly made me feel attached to Yoshiki in the first place, just because I really did feel for him, so yes, I would love more flashbacks to their original dynamic together. Both so I can feel that pain more, and also because I do think that it would further develop the relationship while also diving deeper into Yoshiki as a character in his decision making. And on that note, this series has been just an incredibly complex and interesting deep dive into grief as well, through Yoshiki, but also through present Hikaru and just what he's capable of understanding and feeling. Which does bring us to what is our major relationship here, and it is incredibly messy and complex. And Yoshiki's grief is a huge factor that's mixed in here as well, which is how much that he is struggling to make sense of it all and just how he should go about things. Again, it's dark, it's twisty, it's so complex, but there are also more positive slice of life moments as well. And I do really feel like we've seen this relationship evolve over the course of the volumes. I feel like we've seen Yoshiki himself evolve as well, and that is especially the case for the second arc. Otherwise, there are some cute friendships and relationships in here as well, because there is a friend group that I've enjoyed for the most part. Like, the humor doesn't always land for me, but what's worked has worked, and I would like to see more of them. As for the story itself, I do think that it starts off kind of simple when it comes to the overall concept, and I do think that that is mostly because we have really just been in the daily life arc so far, and a lot of that has been more focused on the characters and also just this new dynamic and relationship and just situation that they found themselves in, while also still diving into the horror elements as well and just kind of setting up and teasing the later mystery. And this arc also does pose some really interesting questions about how Yoshiki should deal with this new Hikaru, while also showing off his grief and Hikaru's own motivations. And it sets the stage, but at this point while I was reading this series, series. I wasn't really expecting it to do anything mind-blowing with its mystery, and it was the characters and the relationships and just like the questions that they were asking and the deep dives that were majorly carrying my interest and enjoyment in the series beyond just the surface level. And then we started the mystery solving arc. And yeah, the series has more going on than I originally thought. And I have really enjoyed what we've gotten from this arc so far. We're still not too far into it. And I've also just been really enjoying where the characters and the relationships are at as well. It feels like we have really settled in here, and that fully made the introductory stage of this series even more worth it than it already was. Because this series does have some really compelling ideas. And I feel like the pacing of the amount of information that they give out and tease just really makes me want to keep reading. And honestly, it makes me never want to stop reading because I just want all of the answers. And just seeing like the start of things come together, or even just having like little things come together or get exposed, has been so satisfying. So I can only imagine what that is going to feel like by the time the series is done. It's getting really exciting, and it's only getting more dark and more scary, while also still continuing with the psychological questions and just the morality of it all. And the story itself does still feel simple to me, but it also just feels so layered and mysterious at the same time. As for the art style, yeah, I really like it. There are genuinely really disturbing and uncomfortable images in here when it comes to the horror elements, but again, it's also really good for the slice of life, and I do really feel like the art is like a nice blend of the two, while also still being able to lean in one way or the other if needed. Because those horror and creepy and uncomfortable things don't always leave even with the slice of life. Overall, if you can't already tell, I've definitely been enjoying my time with this series. Like, it's creepy and uncomfortable and sad, but it's also fun at the same time because I feel like they're doing all of those things really well, and it is what I signed up for when I hauled this series. But I also do just kind of like summer horror, and I really do feel like the series just kind of happens to perfectly line up with what I like to read. From the atmosphere to the character and relationship exploration, and like I said earlier, it really did give me everything that I wanted from it. That being said, has everything been perfect? No, there have been some moments I didn't really think were necessary. For example, there was like some uncomfortable innuendo due to the characters' ages. And then I do also feel like the story can feel like a little bit slow at times, which I am kind of conflicted about, because I also do like that it does feel slow in a way, because it does add to the overall atmosphere and just general development. But also, were there a few instances where I had to reread a couple of things because I zoned out a little? Yeah, but there's also just certainly more good for me than not in here, and I don't really think it's that close. And again, I feel like it's only really going to get better from here. I cannot wait for Volume 5. As for my rating of this series and just kind of where I'm at right now, I do really feel like it is going to depend on how this series ends, but assuming that it goes well, I could definitely see a 5 out of 5 here, but for right now, I do think that I am going to go for a 4.75 out of 5. Okay, so that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!